Greetings. Death and destruction are not a solution. Vandalism, threats are not a solution. We need to find ways to deal with the situation, and this situation is a situation that's quickly spiraling out of control. Now, to start with, I do not form part of any social media platforms. I am not on Twitter, I'm not on Instagram, I'm not on Facebook, and all those other platforms that exist. I have not made any inflammatory, any divisive, and any inciting statements, now or ever. I'm about peace, I'm about solutions, I'm about unity. And the only way that we're going to get through this problem we have at hand is by unifying. Now, we can't have a situation where we're spreading false information, we're spreading information that is true, that is out there, and further flaming the flames of disparity and desperation. We have people that have been looting, and just to touch upon that point, they're being called looters, criminals, hooligans. Now, the reason why that is a problem is that further fans the flames purely because these are people that are desperate. Am I condoning their behavior? Am I condoning the behavior of mass destruction? Most definitely not. But we need to understand the root cause of these problems. And part of the problem is poverty. Part of the problem is unemployment. Part of the problem is inequality. Now, leaving all the politics aside, let's deal with the situation with reality in mind. Now, we all know what the situation is. People that have but don't have live across the roads from us. They work for us. Some of them have been people that have grown us up. Now, we can't have a situation where they leave their places of work, go home, and they have no food on the table. This is something that will create strife and will lead to situations such as these. Now, the current issue that's unfolding in our country is not one that is of a flash in the pan moment. This is an issue that's been building up for many years. We're not here to blame people, we're not here to blame the current government, not here to blame the apartheid government, we're here to blame the issues as they exist. The socioeconomic issues in our country are real. Starvation is a real thing, and we need to understand that if we do not deal with that issue specifically, we're going to have these problems. So this is no surprise that this has happened. Now, two things have caused the what is called civil unrest. One was the arresting and the imprisonment of Jacob Zuma. And the second thing, in my firm belief, is lockdown. And let me touch upon that. Now, I feel, and this is my fundamental right as someone that is a family member to the gentleman that's been locked up, I feel that his imprisonment was unjust and unfair, and I stand by him, and I've been calling, and I continue to call for the releasing of Jacob Zuma. The second thing is the lockdown. Now, if we think we're going to continue with the lockdown and this situation is going to be brought under control, that's not going to happen. And the reason I say this is, and I've said this a year ago, when the first phase of the lockdown happened, the first 21 days, if I'm not mistaken, I'd said we only have this one chance, which was last year in late March, early April, to lock down the country. We will not have any chances after that. Why? We have a set of unique circumstances in South Africa, socioeconomic circumstances, that put people in a position where they're not able to fend for themselves. Now, if we come and we lock people down further and say, guys, you guys haven't been earning for a while. As a matter of fact, the ones that have, sit at home indefinitely. What do we expect to happen? There's certain choices that we've made that have brought us to this position that we're in today. There's certain decisions that have been made and certain decisions that haven't been made that have brought us to this point. Now, it's not going to help us pointing fingers and creating issues that will divide us. We need to pull together. The issues of inequality, the issues of poverty, the issues of unemployment are obviously a real issue. This is what's playing out in the public domain. And the bigger issues that will follow as they latch on to these root issues. And we're seeing it happening, the issues of tribalism that have existed in our country, where there's been black on black hate. There's issues of racism that have popped up, and we see it always transpiring whenever there's some sort of unrest in the country. It'll always boil down to black hate, white hate, Indian hate, and colored hate, and whoever else is in the system. And the one issue that if we do not keep an eye on is where we'll be heading to if we do not sort the situation out immediately, is the issue of xenophobia. The issue of xenophobia is one that's going to drive us further into a point where it'll be difficult to reverse the gains that we've attained to this point. So what I'm saying and what people should be saying is, how do we deal with these issues as a society? Government is one side. What government does is what government is going to do. What they haven't done is what they're not going to do. We need to decide amongst ourselves if we're working together and if we're going to make the situation a much easier, smoother transition into a point where we get back on our feet. Us arming up and creating militia groups to protect ourselves and our families, that's our fundamental right to defend ourselves. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that. The problem comes in when there's a complete disregard for the law and people are just killed in an unacceptable manner. You know, yes, you've got people rioting. Yes, you've got people that are scaling walls and attacking institutions, businesses, warehouses. It's completely unacceptable. But if we have the situation where there's groupings that are armed, if we have a situation where we have a police force that's been deployed on the streets and they prove to be ineffective because they're overwhelmed, if we have the South African National Defence Force that's put down on the ground, something's going to give. And bear in mind, we are one massacre away, just one massacre away from a complete spiraling out of control of the situation. So for the people that are armed and are defending themselves, please do so responsibly and please do so carefully. And similarly, for the people that are protesting and looting, please do so carefully and please do so responsibly, because you cannot hold people responsible for defending what they love. So that's just a point that I wanted to raise. So unless we start off by dealing with the issues that seem to be the problem, which is the imprisonment of Jacob Zuma, number one, and number two, the lockdown, in my belief, that's causing these issues, we are not starting in resolving these problems. Why? Because the lockdown is got people sitting at home, you've got idle minds, you've got people that are full of energy, you've got people that are upset, you've got people that are hungry with no options. As a matter of fact, it's not only going to be an issue that's systemic, that exists only in the townships, in the rural areas, and in the informal settlements, like we all believe for some magical reason. That problem is now persisting. It's now existing in our suburbs. So people that used to be well off are now not as well off due to the conditions that the lockdown has created. Not being able to earn, now we're all going to find ourselves in a situation where down the line we will be part of the unruly mob that's out there trying to feed our families. Let us not get to that point. So with that being said, I think we all need to take responsibility, all of us, for where we're at right now. And we all need to be a part of the solution. Talking, finger pointing is not going to help. We need to start making decisions, and we need to start making them now. If we think we are not going to feed the poor people that are busy ransacking the economy, then we're not getting off to a start. So we need to find ways. If we have a military that's deployed, let's not make the military antagonistic to the population and vice versa. Let's create a situation where the military is part of the solution. People need to be fed. Let's get the mills up and running. Let's get the businesses up and running. Let's get people out on the streets to live, to earn, to work. Let's get the manufacturing plants of operation. Let's get the food making facilities up and running, whether it's bakeries, sugar mills, maize meal manufacturers, non-perishable goods, tin stuff and that sort of stuff. We need to get food to the people, because if we are not dealing with that issue of feeding people first, we can't expect them to sit at home when we tell them, guys, go sit at home when they've got nothing at home. But once again, it's inexcusable that they are destroying property. It's inexcusable that there's loss of life. That's not what we stand for. So people, it's time for us to make some serious decisions. It's the finger pointing and then the blame game will never help. Taking up arms and creating mini revolutions in whichever direction, that's not going to help. We have a country to protect. We have a country to build. It's all our responsibility, from the communities that we live in and the neighborhoods that we are part of. How do we get to a level of calm where we are all benefiting from how this country moves forward? Because if we keep ignoring the issue of poverty in this country, what is happening now will continue to happen. It may die down for some or other reason, but it will pop back up again because it's an issue that is uncontrollable. You cannot tell a hungry man or woman not to fend for their families. That goes for all of us. So let's be careful what we do. Let's be careful how we proceed. Let's make the right decisions. Let's make the right calls. Let's stop blaming each other. We're all in this together. We are all losing. It's not just one grouping of people losing. Let's band together and let's make this thing work. I feel like this is an opportunity for us all to be part of what South Africa should be, and not what people are telling us it should be, and not what people are driving it to. So this has got nothing to do with politics. It's got nothing to do with politicking. This is the reality on the ground. If these things don't happen, we should not be surprised of the outcome. That's as simple as it is. I think we all need to be responsible and take responsibility for the situation we're in. Because for a long time we've turned a blind eye, that's all of us, to the poverty in this country. Handing out food parcels as a temporary solution. Giving people food and blankets during winter is a temporary solution. How do we get to a point where we have kitchens up and running that people do not go to bed hungry? That's what we should be looking at. And now is the time to start putting up those government kitchens, if it may be so, where people do not have an issue with starvation. From that point onwards, I can guarantee you it makes it easier moving forward, and people are more amenable to decisions being taken and to options being put on the table as options of relevance and reality to their situations. Don't ever forget that people are a product of their environment. As much as people want to point fingers on to hooliganism and looting mobs and trying to blame it on whichever factors they're blaming it on, that's not what it is. This thing is very simple. People are going to do this. They are going to continue to do this as long as there's no food on the table. Lift the lockdown, let people get back to work, let businesses run. That is a starting point. Thank you very much.